right, folks. Hey, greetings. Welcome this afternoon. What's today's date? Today is Wednesday, the 16th of September. Welcome to the College of DuPage Entrepreneurship Club. Let's see if I could put a quick link up here. Not even a link, just the flyer that I'm so proud of because I created this flyer myself. Yes, I did. So I just want to make sure I got a shout out for that for sure. Hey, welcome to the CODEC College of DuPage Entrepreneurship Club. My name is Dr. Peter James. I'm so excited that everyone decided to join us today. We are virtual now. The College of DuPage Entrepreneurship Club is usually face-to-face, obviously, but we are in a different time altogether. So now we are virtual. We are specifically on Zoom. So welcome. I hope this is a great opportunity for you all who, if this is the first time, for those of you who have been here before and done that, welcome back. Yes, we are fairly the same format, obviously, because it's not an interview format. We're face-to-face. It's a Zoom interview format for sure. At CODEC, our goal is to expose students and local community members to entrepreneurs and small business owners. By them sharing their story, we'll show how entrepreneurship is definitely an option when your education is complete. And we have a very special guest today, but before we go to him, I want to make sure that I introduce our fearless leader, Ryan, who is the president of our club. Ryan, say hello to the masses if you could.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first CODEC meeting of the school year. My name is Ryan and I'm the president this year for the club. And it's really cool to see that we got a pretty decent turnout for the first meeting, considering we're Zoom and we're trying to adjust to the virtual life. I wanted to make a quick announcement here about our office positions for the semester and the year on out. Currently, Peter and I are the only ones managing and moderating the club and have a couple of officer positions open to get some extra help with hosting rooms, offering new ideas for meetings and the way we run things, or anything that may come in handy as we try to adjust to a completely virtual format. If you're interested in the position and want to learn more about what it is you might be doing, please send me an email following this meeting, just letting me know who you are, how you heard about the club, and that you're interested in the position. I'll be sure to send my email in the chat for you guys shortly. But with that, let's give a warm welcome to our guest, Brian Sykes, and get the interview underway.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Ryan. Ryan is so fearless. You just see his name and that's it. Just Ryan. And he is lawless. He has no laws about him.
I do get that a lot.
No laws about him. He is rogue out here for sure, ladies and gentlemen. So, hey, thank you so much, Ryan. Excited for you guys all to jump on board. We've got some activities for our leaders. If you want to definitely jump on, Ryan's going to put his email in the chat. So definitely check him out once you get the chance, or let us know if you have any questions around that as well. So I'm so excited to dive into entrepreneurs' worlds. And today we have a phenomenal entrepreneur, phenomenal business owner who owns a recording studio. And I'm kind of geeked about this because I love that whole world, that whole entire world about, just talking about music, how money is made. I can sit here and talk to you all day long about that. And I really want to hear a little bit about it from someone on the inside. So, Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing very, very well. So thank you so much for joining us today and being on the first virtual CODEC meeting, man. How do you like this virtual world that we're in now, man?
Hey, man, the thing is, you can be comfortable at home and still get work done.
You can be comfortable. You can stay in your pajamas.
Hey, there you go. Translation.
Maybe even from the bottom down, but you can definitely stay in your pajamas for sure.
Just don't stand up.
Don't stand up. Don't stand up. I've seen videos of people standing up lately, man. That's bad. It's bad, really.
Okay, they're trying to be fired. Okay.
Not trying to get anybody fired. So welcome aboard. Listen, let's just get it kicked right off, Brian. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started doing and what you're doing a little bit.
Okay. So from the south side of Chicago, southeast side, Jeffrey Manor, got to rep all day for them. Right. But initially I started out as a someone who loved art, right? So graphic design, I went to San Xavier University where I got my BA in graphic design there. Always had a passion for music, but never necessarily really took it seriously, even though I listened to it intently. I had a great love for it and everything like that. But when I was in high school, I had a surgery on my throat, basically, that kind of prohibited me from singing. Mm-hmm. But I basically ended up taking like a vocal technique class when I was in college. And so she really helped me to kind of get back into singing, and I ended up restoring my passion for it. And it's funny because I got to senior year and it was like, man, I should be doing music. It was like, no, this senior year, I got to get up out of here. I can't just, change. And that's an extra 4 or 5 years that I got to tack on just to learn that. But so from there, I kind of made a deal with myself. I ended up going down to Texas, and I was like, okay, if I make my own first song, if it turns out okay, I'll start working on doing music, right? Okay. And so I ended up going down there, and we ended up making a song together. It was called Can't Let Go. And we started working with Louder Than a Bomb. It was a community group that does poetry and everything like that. They're pretty well known in Chicago. They put out mixtapes every year of some of like the hottest talent in Chicago at the time. And so it ended up making it on there with another song that I ended up doing with a friend of mine. So actually, just to kind of backtrack, it kind of started with church and a weed microphone, honestly. Like my sister was into technology and she was singing and rapping downstairs, and that wasn't really something I was into. Let me be the guy behind the scenes. Let me just go make some money, take care of the family. But that's what kind of sparked it from there. And years later, I ended up coming with Insomniac Studios with Marlon. I ended up recording here and ended up coming on as a partner. So I've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years.
So, towards the end, I'm going to ask you some insight for, just recommendations you have for college students as they are embarking on their entrepreneurial career. Mm-hmm. But I kind of want to put a spin on that a little bit earlier from a perspective of, many of us have these music dreams when we're in high school or in college. Yeah. And some of us sing well in the shower. Some of us can rap a little bit too, but if you've been told you have a talent, if you feel like you have a little bit of a talent, how do you get from where you are to get the momentum going? What are some basic things you need to start doing in order to break into this industry?
Well, one, you work on your craft because you want to make sure you have something viable that people will actually listen to. Sure. You have to be consistent, and you have to also study the greats to be able to do it, because it'll get you into certain rooms. Sometimes the stage might not necessarily be the thing that gets you where you want to be at first. Sometimes it's kind of learning to be of service. So learning production or learning music business. These are the things that I've kind of been able to learn to kind of help me to get to this point. And when you kind of learn multiple ways of how to be able to work yourself in a certain industry, those things will help you to get into certain doors. That if you want to try to go straight forward with just your music, sometimes that door might not necessarily be open as fast. But when you become multifaceted or you learn certain skills, that'll kind of help you to open up a couple back doors that will get you actually to the same place. So, well, first, really work on your craft and find out who you are as an artist first.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. And again, every semester never fails. Someone runs into my office, or used to when we were face to face, and saying, "Hey, I really want to break into the industry. What do I do? I feel like I could rap. I feel like I could sing. I feel like I play instruments for that matter. How do I go ahead and do that?" So you stopped a little bit earlier right about the time talking about Insomniac. So tell us how that got started and how you got started in that world, if you don't mind.
Okay, so Insomniac Studios was started by Marlon King and his other business partner. We call him Shadow, but his name is Martin Johnson. And so they started out recording just a bunch of different artists around Chicago. They ended up having an internship program. And so that's why I ended up kind of coming in. They started 10 years ago. And so 5 years ago, I ended up coming on, just recording here as an artist. I wasn't even necessarily after totally owning my own business at first, For me, it was just, all right, let me just learn the craft of engineering, things like that. And so initially it was for my sister because she produces, but he actually ended up having me to stay on. And so 3 years ago, that's when I ended up coming on to help the artists learn music business and kind of starting my own business within the process of working with Marlon. So that's how we actually end up becoming partners.
Cool, cool. Tell us about that experience in this studio, working in this production company. What is it like from the inside? Especially you guys are independent, if I'm not mistaken, correct? What is it like from that perspective? And just give us some insight into the industry, if you don't mind.
Well, especially with being independent, you have to be able to grow your own fan base. You have to be able to take those shows, whether they're open mics or whether they're paid gigs. You have to be able to, like I said, come up with a working product that people will actually want to gravitate towards. Also, at the same time, you have to make sure that your business is in check, because they're just like real studio, right? So we have people come in and record. So we have to break it down into blocks of how many blocks that you can actually buy. What I mean by blocks is hours, right? So how many hours can you actually buy to actually get something done? The other thing on the end of the spectrum is we do production here, right? So we have to come up with a basis of what should we charge people who want to come in and get production, because if we look at how a lot of like beat stars, for instance, right, they have in a contract where you can have their beat up to a certain amount of plays, right? So maybe 10,000 streams, right? But at the end of the day, you don't own that beat because you can't get the copyright to it. So you can't fully own the beat itself. So then it's working on your craft to, okay, let me learn music production, right? And so you end up working out something with the artist the way you both can actually own the beat in yourself instead of having to necessarily go to BeatStar. So you develop different personal relationships with artists. Once they learn to trust you more, you can actually help to grow your business a little bit better.
So, this is, while you're sitting here talking, I'm starting to think a little bit deeply into the industry, because a lot of people don't understand how the music industry works, who's making money, how you think the artists are rich. They're not really as rich as you think they are. So give us a little bit of background on what music used to be like, and then especially from an artist perspective and who's making money, but then also what it has migrated to in light of streaming and everything like that too. Give us a little bit of a picture, especially who's making money in this business industry.
Well, for the most part, the labels are still making the majority of the money in the industry, and that's because they own the masters and they own publishing, right? So very few artists, especially in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, if any, actually owned any of their music, right? So we've come a long way when it comes to that. It was something I was mentioning on Hall Pass when I was talking to you guys before about how a lot of times artists didn't even know to read the contracts. You're Motown, I like Motown, so let me just sign up. So, in today's world, that's you Interscope, so I just want to be on Interscope. Because 50 Cent or Eminem was on Interscope, let me sign up. But in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, a lot of times, a good deal was 10 cents on the record, right? We get you a Cadillac or we get you a house. You go tour, you make some money, but there were millions of dollars getting paid to the actual record companies, which allowed them to still thrive to this day, because every time those songs from the past get played on the radio or they get played in TV or movies, they continue to make money, while most of those artists still have to tour, if they're even able enough to do that, to make some type of money because they don't own it. So if you fast forward today, it's kind of still the same thing, it's still the case. Now it's more open because you have like DistroKid and TuneCore that will allow you to distribute the music from your own personal, so from your hard drives and everything like that, to where you're not tied to a label. But the grind is even much more relevant, because you have to know how to market yourself to be able to actually get an audience that's willing to pay for your music.
Yeah, so I mean, back in the day, it was all about the distribution, and even the promotion of it, for that matter. Now with streaming, is it still about the distribution and promotion also? Because streaming, anybody could stream on Spotify or something like that. What is even the lure to go with an Interscope or something, or a company like that?
Well, a lot of times because they have the direct access to TV, radio, and you know what I'm saying, and the movies, like I said before, advertising companies, commercials, things like that. Like, they're fully entrenched into marketing, right? So they have the marketing dollars to be able to do whatever it is they need to do. So in the contracts, a lot of times your marketing budget is actually in that contract. So you don't make money actually on any of your albums really until you actually pay the labels back for all the money that they spent on you. Yeah. That's the other part of that contract. So with streaming, anybody can stream, but let's look at a stream. A stream is like 0.000116 something of 1 cent or $1,
Right.
So it takes you to get a lot of streams just to generate $10, let alone 1,000, let alone, so that's when the artist now has to really become more of an entrepreneur. If you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur. Let's just get that straight, right? Yeah. Especially in this climate, if you're going independent, okay? So you have to know how to now talk to these other companies because it's more wide open to actually get your music placed in different areas, okay? To be able to get your music placed in movies or to get your music placed in TV or different advertising companies. So your management has to be pretty good in that area too if you're not doing it yourself.
So I think as you go through this, and I'm gonna ask a couple more questions, then I'm gonna open it up to the audience to come off mute to ask a little bit. So as you talk about that, I'm thinking back towards Prince and Garth Brooks, who may be been ahead of their times as it relates to being independent. I think even Taylor Swift, who kind of manipulated a little bit. But now then I also think about the Logics and the Chance the Rappers who started out independents. How are you able to be independent and make money? I'm hearing you say the entrepreneurship thing, but how can you be independent and make a living?
Well, let's look at Chance, for instance. Like a lot of people just say just because his family was connected with Obama and everything like that, it was super easy. No, what they did was they started real grassroots. They started in high school. Let's put together some parties, right? I put together my mixtape 10-day. Let's put together some parties. Let's have them in different high schools. Let's find different venues. Okay, let's be able to collect emails or whatever the case may be. Let's set up other different shows. Let's put together merch, right? Let's also be able to talk to different smaller labels here in the community. There was another guy, good guy by the name of Brother Mike. I got a chance to meet him 3 months before he died. And he was very well connected in Chicago, and he was also very well connected in California and New York. So he helped them out a lot with being able to come up with different strategies to be able to market themselves, to be able to move from a Chicago market to a New York market. But I would tell everyone the same thing that I got from a guy named Martin Atkinson. If you're from Chicago, or even if you're from Atlanta, whatever the case may be, work the region that you're in, right? Because a lot of times people want to get big, and then next thing you know, they want to go to California or they want to go to New York, because that's the dream that's still in our minds, that we have to go somewhere else to totally blow. And that's not necessarily always the case. Work the region that you're in, get hot in the region that you're in, and there will be other venues that will want to hit you up for you to be able to perform in other states and other cities. But like I said, merch is also something that's big, because you're a brand at the end of the day. And you have to treat yourself as such. So what are the things that you say that your followers are starting to say? What are the things that you do that your followers are starting to mimic, right? Put it on the shirt, right? Put it on a wristband. Sell that while you're at your concert, because even if you're not necessarily making that much money from the actual performance itself, they'll come to your merch table because they want to be a part of your movement. So as an artist, you have to be able to create a movement to be able to sustain yourself from a business standpoint.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say, it's not even so much about the lyrics and the singing or the rapping. It's more about what else are you doing in order to really build momentum.
Right. In this day and age, it's not necessarily just enough just to be an artist, unless you have a great team behind you. And that's another thing too, because you have to know how to know who you can trust. Sure. That's a hard thing, especially in this industry, because there's a lot of people that are out here that might see that you're very talented, but will use you for the gifts that you have. And so you have to slowly build a team that you can actually trust to be able to handle other parts of the business. But as an artist, you should learn the music business first. You learn the music business first, so when you add people to your team, you know how they need to move and it's harder for them to be able to get over on you. You can't necessarily always sketch everything all the time, but 99% more out of the time, out of not, you'll be able to fully understand how your team should function, you know, the parts to that whole.
It's an interesting conversation. It makes me just think that the music industry is not much different than other industries that are out there in business, whether it's healthcare, whether it's transportation, oil, you know, they're all marketing, they're selling, there's the middlemen, you know, there's so many different aspects, so many aspects that are very similar to all of these industries. And those of you who are taking business classes, entrepreneurship classes, you know, it all kind of ties together from that perspective. One last question, you were starting to talk a little bit about Kanye West a little bit and his music, his label that he's under for sure.
Yeah.
So he's been in the industry for a little while now, made a lot of money, obviously, correct? Right. Where's he at right now?
So really, I think it was just today, he put up part of his contract that was basically talking about copyrights, and he was talking about his ownership and that he doesn't own any of his music. And so what's written in the contract is that he's a work for hire. So you can be an artist and create all this music from your soul. You know, you spend so much time creating a whole different sound for people to love. But in that contract, it says he's basically work for hire. So it's basically them basically saying, all right, create a sound. We're going to market it, but we own it. So you make your money on the road. You make your money on endorsements. You know, you make your money in other ways. But as far as this music, is ours. So from your publishing, your copywriting to everything, right? So that's why you have to be able to know and read contracts and be careful with what you're signing. Because at the end of the day, but let's be honest, when he started out, that was more the process of you sign with a label. You get yourself hot, you know what I'm saying? You start making other different business moves, things like that. That was the formula. But now we're starting to see the other side. This is the reason why Prince wrote slave on his face. Okay, so this is what it is. You will work for hire. They're hiring you to provide a service. But that's all it is to them. But this is your lifeblood. So you have to be able to talk to different people, get in touch with different organizations to really understand what it is that you're getting into.
All right, folks. So here's how we're going to do the questions. If you have a question, a music industry question, a business entrepreneurship type question, let me know in the chat that you have a question, and then we'll go in that order for sure. So, but definitely jump on in, folks. This is a good insider. This is a music industry insider. If you have a question, jump on in, come off mute, and let's talk to Brian about what's going on. Adley, I think I'm saying your name right. If I'm not, forgive me. But Adley, what is your question?
Yeah, you said my name right. Yeah, it's Adley. It's a little bit confusing, but
that's all right.
So my question is, like, for example, an entrepreneur, some of the hardships that come with being an entrepreneur is like on motivation, like losing motivation and stuff. So I know that maybe that happened to you in the past. How did you deal with that when you felt unmotivated and you felt like, you know, that you couldn't go on anymore? What did you do to, you know, get you back on track on your goals or dreams?
Good question, Adley. Thank you so much. Yeah, good stuff.
Okay, yeah, motivation is a big part of everything that you do because it's the reason you get out of bed in the morning, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because you have to be passionate about what you do. If not, you're not gonna work. So for me, a lot of times, especially with motivation, because I love music so much, I would listen to the different stories of different artists, the things that they went through, the hardships they had to go through. And I had to understand that my struggle is not something that's new. Okay? Like my struggle and the things that I'm going through are not something that's new, but at the same time, these people have overcome it. So I can basically do the same. Now, how I go about doing that is I have to reiterate to myself why I'm on this journey in the first place. Okay? Why am I passionate about what I do? Why do I spend as many hours as I do? doing that. And also, I have to take into consideration some of the wins that I've actually had. Like, I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily always pay attention to our accomplishments, no matter how small we think they are. So you have to constantly give your account of what you are doing. And then also a self-assessment. Like, so I'm into philosophy, right? So one thing that Plato said, that Socrates said is, the unexamined life is not a life worth living. So I have to also give a self-examination of myself, of my work ethic, okay? Because I might be stuck because I'm lacking in some part of my work ethic. So I have to go back, assess myself, and then start over again. Because sometimes you have to break down the foundation that you set up because it's not sustainable for your future goals. And so for that, that's when I end up reinventing myself. That's when I start getting that fervor back. I start wanting to do more things. But after I've examined myself and like, okay, let me start firing off again. Let me pay attention to some of the people that I look up to. How did they get past these moments? How did they get past these certain sections in life? And then I continue to move from there. So that's kind of how it helps me to stay motivated.
Right. Thank you so much for your answer and stuff. I really like what you're saying. Like, like you have to self-examine yourself because that's key for entrepreneurs. So, yeah, I like what you're saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adelaide. We got to go on to the next one. Hey, for those of you who are taking college classes, you need to do a little self-examination, right? Brendan, come off of mute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. So I got a question for artists who are trying to make it in the music industry. What is your advice as far as, do you think it is better to try and get signed by a record label or to try and go it your own way as an individual?
Well, first, I would tell you, Brendan, I would say, one, I always reiterate this to artists, work on your craft and make sure that you're confident in what you have. Secondly, go out to open mics, go out to different shows and perform. See who likes your music, right? Because you don't want a label telling you what your value is when you haven't necessarily found out what your value is for yourself, okay? Another thing that's grassroots that you can do after you perform, make sure those that are interested in your music get an email address, okay? Set you up a website or set up your Instagram page and put out content that's based on the music. Talk about your journey. Pull people into the music that you do, all right? Then after that, continue to do shows, network with different people, talk to different people, even people in different states, because some people that might hit you up online, some of them might be talent buyers, okay? Or some of them might be people that own different venues. Create your own shows. Another thing that's big, especially nowadays, is some people do house concerts now. Tap into that. Tap into Zoom concerts. Figure out who your audience is first. Then, if you got yourself to a point where you have assembled a nice crowd that's coming out to your shows, maybe consider a label, but I wouldn't say consider a label before you find out what your worth is, before you find out what your audience is. That way you won't cheat yourself, and at the same time too, someone else won't tell you what your value is.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank
you
you
for the
so
question,
much.
Brandon. Thank you so much for the question, Brandon. And for those of you who know people, especially who are interested in the music industry, this may be some good advice for that as well. We also, next one on the list, I got Ryan Gorey has a question for Brian. Ryan, come off of mute, please.
Thank you. So I own a company and we do a lot of live event production, anywhere from audio, lighting, all that good stuff that's not obviously going on right now. So my question is, looking at kind of restarting everything back up, whether it's early next year, late next year, what have you seen others doing with grassroots and just trying to, kick things back off, and what changes are, positive, what's negative, just to kind of try to rebalance A, budgets, and B, workload?
You said budgets and workload?
Yeah.
Okay. So the most part from what I'm seeing now is the budgets are not necessarily, especially as high because of what's going on right now. Like you can't necessarily have a lot, but I'm noticing drive-in concerts are happening now. I actually just went to one myself where Mick Jenkins performed at. So from one side, the drive-ins are actually coming back when it comes to that. So as far as workload is concerned, it's kind of like research into what needs to be done to get a drive-in up and running if you're close to one. Other than that, also you can kind of look into it, like I was saying before, creating home events where the budget is not as bad because you're only bringing in smaller speakers. You only need really one or two mics, if that, and just the soundboard, just to be able to put on shows that won't necessarily be as costly. I think this time has kind of put us in a place where you can work with what you have and not necessarily break the bank with what you're doing at the same time too, because it's a difference between trying to put sound in the auditorium and make sure the room is treated correctly and everything like that for the sound to be perfect, then, being able to rent out a small space and now hold those concerts there. The return on the investment is not necessarily as huge because you're not dealing with a place that can hold 400 to 500 people, but you can actually put more shows in place to where there is some money that is able to be able to come in because of the services that you provide. You all can actually rent out a few spaces that are actually here in Chicago that are looking to make some type of revenue as far as renting, and you all can actually set up your sound and then actually have artists actually come in and perform, and that way they're bringing crowds to you to actually help to make some money. So
it's a lot of stuff there, man. I love that drive-through idea. That's actually unique. I know the drive-through movies are coming back. They do movies now down at Soldier Field on a regular basis as well. So those of you who are interested in that, Ryan had a great question. Good insight, Brian. Thank you so much for it as well. Damien, you are next on deck. Damien, you got a question for Brian. Please come off of mute, sir.
Sure. How you guys doing?
Good.
My question is, well, I'm an aspiring artist.
Okay.
I put out a few songs, got few streams, and in trying to grow and expand my fan base, you come across a lot of these music promotion services online. But it's just so obvious that a lot of them are, trying to scam or just putting out these fake streams. So my question to you is, what are some red flags or things to look for in some of these companies that will help you set yourself down the right path instead of getting, scammed or something?
Well, first things first, if they're asking you to pay, like, hey, I can get you this and this amount of streams and stuff like that, they're asking you to pay, and then when you have the question of who they work with, they can't tell you.
Right.
They can't tell you. They can't pull up a roster. They can't pull up any actual numbers of what they've done. They don't have a history or a record of being able to have some success with artists. Because that's the thing. Like, I've had a couple of those actually hit me up about promotion and stuff like that. And, I go back and I research them. Google works. Google helps a lot. You know what I'm saying? Who have you worked with? How long have you been working for? Who in the industry knows you? Who are you connected to? Those are the things that I like to get into because that lets me know what type of people that I'm dealing with. And if they're even worth my time, at all. So you have to really look into that. One company that I know of is called Swank PR. I've known a couple of artists that have worked with them in the past. They work with Lupe and they work with a few more people. They do a really good job on promotion. So you actually might want to look into them. They're called Swank PR.
What was the name one more time? I'm sorry.
Swank PR. So SWANK PR.
PR. Awesome.
Now,
Thank you so much.
When you get to public relation companies and things like that, make sure you have a budget in place. Because they are well connected into different industries and different sources, they are going to be asking some money of you because of the simple fact that time is money, and this is what they specialize in. Okay, So, but like I said, with Swing PR, you can actually look and tell and see how many artists that this person has worked with. You know, so like I said, of course, do your research, make sure you understand who who you're actually trying to do business with, and go from there. But also have a budget with you.
Got you.
To know exactly what you need to be able to take some of your songs to the next level, or if you need to do some more of the hard work yourself.
Good stuff. Good insight. Thank you for that question there, Damien. We got a couple more questions. Crystal, got a question for Brian. Crystal, can you come off of mute, please?
Hi, good afternoon, Brian.
How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
All right. All right.
So my question is more general, just in regards to business. So organizational culture and leadership are both very important when it comes to business. I believe even for entrepreneurs.
Right.
What aspect of culture and leadership do you feel are most vital for entrepreneurs in order for them to be successful in business?
Okay. No problem. One, you have to be around people that you trust. You have to be around people that's willing to work as hard as you are. Everybody has to have a different function that they specialize in. Everybody cannot, and I mean cannot, be doing the exact same thing that you're doing, because that defeats the process of being able to build a team and also a culture. Okay, because then everybody thinks they can do the same thing better than the other person. It makes no sense. Also, when you're creating a culture, you have to be willing to be able to congratulate your teammates on things that have been done, things that have been accomplished. Positive reinforcement is a key to a lot of different things. Like I've seen different businesses where the person in leadership didn't even talk to the people that they were working with. And so how do you expect people to move a ship, especially if it's your vision, if you don't give some positive reinforcement at the end of the day? Also, as a leader, like I was saying earlier in the program, make sure you have an understanding of what those positions do and how they're supposed to work in the vision that you're setting up. The other thing is, as a leader, your company rises and falls with you. So you can mess around and get all the glory and all the blame all at the same time, right? So you have to know how to push through it and deal with it, and also know how to disseminate information to your staff or to the ones that's under you if something goes wrong, right? Hold people accountable, but know how to be able to communicate accountability. Okay, because if you're the type of person that's just gonna jump down people's throat, and that's not the type of atmosphere that you built in the first place, which it shouldn't be in the first place, but that's not the type of atmosphere that you have, you will turn around and destroy the very thing that you're building. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, like, everything starts with you and it also ends with you. So you want to be able to create a culture where, of course, people are having fun and they're passionate about what they're doing because you're reinforcing it, but also that they're accountable for what they do. So whether something happens, whether something transpires, also you want to have people on the team that are able to turn a bad situation to a good situation. There should be a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C at all times of what you're doing. If you put everything in one basket, you will fall apart very quickly because everybody is hinging themselves on this one thing that they're working on in one way. The purpose of having a team is to be able to look at things at different ways and also be able to come up with different strategies of how to be able to break that thing down and be absolutely successful at it. So I hope I answered your question, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good question, Crystal. Wow. Brian, you coming on here, man. You giving managerial advice now, man. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Good question, Crystal. Shaker, you are next on deck for Brian. Shaker, come off of mute and ask your question, sir.
Hi, Brian, again. Just question, please. So how did you make sure what you're doing is a real job as entrepreneur, not just like a hobby? So for example, like you, especially in the beginning, you're not going to get those kind of positive results. You're going to get a lot of obstacles. And how did you know, like, oh, those are part of success, not like, oh, you know what, this is not for me, I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to go find another hobby? I mean, how did you make sure, like, no, this is part of the plan?
Well, I study different music producers. So I look at, what Diddy is doing. I look at the things that Kanye has done. I look at some of the things that a lesser known artist is Odyssey.
Okay.
This is an artist that tours around the globe. He makes a ton of money from what he's doing, but he's also passionate about doing. How does he put together different aspects of his business? And so when you start to look at the journey and understand what it has taken and how many no's people have had to confront just to get to where they are, it lets you know, okay, I'm kind of in the right place, but you also have to have some successes too, okay, to be able to understand this is the path that you're in. And so one of the successes I had was, I was kind of studying music business a little bit on my own, but I had to understand, got myself to an understanding that I need to go to another level where I can put myself in a position to be able to talk to different lawyers, to understand the different the aspects and different facets of music business and how that correlates to artists and also what needs to be done to own what you create. And so through my efforts and through my work, I was able to kind of accomplish that with the organization I'm with called 2112. And so while other artists or other entrepreneurs in the music business will kind of like struggle to find different avenues of being able to collect information, I'm able to be able to have different resources that I can contact people that's in the music industry, or I can contact lawyers that are basically one of the biggest law firms in the country, was like Swanson and Bill, and talk to some of these lawyers about what I need to do and how I need to navigate the business even further. Also, like I said, with some of the music that I've actually been able to get on the radio, like Vocalo, and also other different ventures that I've had with being on TV, being in different commercials and things like that, that have helped me to succeed along the way. So you have to know you have some return on your investment, and then like assess that, and then keep going from there.
Right. We got one more question. Last question from the audience. Ramsha, you have a question. Please unmute your mic and ask Brian. Ramsha, are you there?
Hi, hello everyone.
Hey, Ramsha.
Hello everyone.
Hello there. How are you? Go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you. I'm doing good. I have this question. So Brian, how are you doing in these uncertain times? How is your Insomniac Studios doing? Like, are the employees still there? How is it going? Has there been any layoffs? I wanted to know how is it like? How are the entrepreneurs doing out there?
Got you. I got you.
That's a fair question. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, no, especially right now, we got into a year where the world almost fell apart, literally. So, understandable. Everything is doing well and is getting back to normal. Of course, things had to be shut down for a while because, human contact was something that was most definitely a no-no. So, things slowed down for a little bit. We kind of took a hit in that regard, especially as far as, financial gains, of course, like that, just like any other company. But it also helped us to reinvent ourselves in different ways, right? So because I work at a studio, I know what a basic setup needs to be for a person to record at home. Okay, so basically what we started doing was putting together bundles for people to know what to buy so they can record at home. And then we can actually have it sent here so we can, mix and master and get that done. So it didn't do it a whole lot, but help us to think in a different way, right? Now, if we stuck with the initial, we can't have people come in, we can't have anybody, recording or, getting the work done. It was like, that would have taken us out. But what it actually helped us to do was think from a different spectrum of, all right, where is technology right now, and how can we use that to our advantage? The other thing is, of course, because we produce music, we was able to utilize different platforms, like I said, BeatStars, or using our website to be able to get people to still see that we were making production still. So if artists, instead of artists coming in and possibly getting something made from scratch, you tell me what you want, give me a song or something like that where you want me to capture the feeling of that, and then we'll work on something, and then we'll contact you when we have a few beats that we can actually possibly sell to you if that's what you like. And so, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it was a hit at first. It was a hit at first, most definitely. But like I said, through actually reinventing ourselves with utilizing technology like Zoom, also just utilizing the knowledge that we already have, but setting up, in-home recording studios for people and giving them the opportunity with that, it kind of helped us to kind of bounce back.
Good stuff. What I love for that though, Brian, man, and this is for all you students who are out there, no matter what you're doing, sometimes you think there's no way, there's no solution. And my response is everything is figure outable. Right. Everything. There's always a way. You just have to analyze it, brainstorm it with others, like-minded individuals who want to help you succeed. Right. Those are the individuals who you need to surround yourself with in order to figure things out and not give up, for that matter as well. Hey, stay tuned with us, folks. We got about a few more minutes left. Got some great insight. Brian, I am going to share my screen with you guys just so they can get an idea of what you're doing overall and some of your websites. So hopefully everyone can see this. Brian, I'll walk us through a little bit about, just tell us about your website, maybe how we can get in touch with you and everything like that, please, sir.
Okay, so we're at Insomniac-Studios.com. Of course, you come to the website. You'll be able to book with us. You'll also be able to see some of the boot camps that we hold. We teach people how to produce. We also teach people how to record and mix, master, engineer. We also have, like I said, our Ispr producers, which is Insomniac Productions. Those are producers that we have on staff that will actually supply you with music for artists that are looking for certain beats. Also, some of our projects that we have on SoundCloud that we did as tributes to different artists are up there as well. So it gives you a chance to showcase some of the work that we've done with some of the artists that we actually have. The other thing that we have also is Ispr Academy. So especially because we're in COVID, we can't necessarily have direct contact with people. We have programming drums in Ableton Live, okay? So this is like a mini tutorial with helping people how to just program drums. We're also building a more in-depth curriculum about how to be able to utilize Ableton, not only just for production, but also engineering as well. And so we kind of go through and we teach you what MIDI is. We teach you just different techniques of how to be able to utilize not only drums, but also melody. And we're also going to mixing production and also mixing vocals later on. So we're kind of in the process of setting those things up. The other thing that we have is if we go to Spotify, we basically just got confirmed on there. So you can go and check out our artists and producers. We just basically got this up and running for the producers and artists that we work with. So feel free to go check those artists out as well as the other artists that we work with. So those are the things we basically have going on right now.
Awesome. Awesome stuff. Brian, as we finish up, those of you who are here for credit, stay tuned on figuring out how to get the credit for your class. Brian, I want you to kind of answer this question as we wrap up. Knowing then what you know now, if you were your younger self back in college, like these students are here, what would you tell your younger self as you were embarking on your entrepreneurial career? What things that would you do differently back then?
I would tell myself to be free. Be free to be able to go into what you're passionate about. Don't let the offset of bills or taking care of family and things like that hinder you from creating. Because sometimes we think that because we're creating something out of the blue, being artistic and everything like that, that it doesn't necessarily have value because we haven't found the immediate audience yet. So with the work involved, you have to be free to be able to go throughout that process, learn to make mistakes, and learn how to assess yourself so you become a better artist, so you become a better entrepreneur, and also make yourself much stronger as far as business is concerned overall. So yeah, be free, move around, make your mistakes.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Brian. Brian, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being our first guest for the pandemic version of CODEC. You've been awesome, man. Actually, you've been dropping some management bombs on us as well, organizational culture bombs. So I truly appreciate those of you who want to get in touch with him. Insomniac Studios, definitely reach out to him. Let's give him a virtual hand clap. Woo! All right, Brian, stand by really quick for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, I also have another special guest who is with us today. And unbeknownst to many of you, the College of DuPage is embarking on its third annual pitch contest. I believe it's third. And I asked an individual, Sam from Innovation DuPage, to come and chat with us about this pitch contest. Sam, first of all, tell us about Innovation DuPage, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Exciting to hear that it's your first meeting with CODEC so far.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Innovation DuPage is a business incubator and accelerator. On the incubation side of what we do, we try to connect entrepreneurs and business owners to the people, resources, and programs that help them grow. Oftentimes, as people go out and build their businesses, they feel like they're alone and like no one else is going through that process. And being able to connect to a community of entrepreneurs gives you the ability to, share similar experience with others and be able to share in one another's pain points as you go through the process of building things out. I've been doing a lot of research on startup communities and business incubators, and the thing that makes the most lively entrepreneurial communities is really the ability to share one another's networks and, the talents and skills that each person brings to the table. So we're really trying to do a lot of that at Innovation DuPage. We offer a lot of different types of services, including, we help people review pitch decks, work on with any type of graphic design support that they might need, connecting them to the right mentors, finding the right programs or players at the at the county or state level as they try to make those types of relationships. So that in a nutshell is Innovation DuPage.
And the great thing about Innovation DuPage, ladies and gentlemen, that it is a part of the College of DuPage. So you as students have a direct tie-in, a direct link to Sam and what their great things they're doing over there with Innovation DuPage. But Sam, we got something coming up in November, man, that you got to tell them about. They're not ready for this, man. They're not ready.
No, we've really upped the prize dollars this year for what we're putting together. So it's the Big Idea Pitch Contest, as you're kind of sharing on the screen now. I also sent in a link through the chat box. So this is a really big deal. We are looking essentially to try and fund the best innovations within students that are a part of College of DuPage or regional high schools. And so people that join the contest can win the prizes here as shown on the screen. First place will take $4,500 home. Second place will take $3,500 home. Second place, and then third place will take $2,500 home. All of this is on top of receiving a 6-month membership to Innovation DuPage. I know a lot of people, when they get prize dollars, won't necessarily know how to invest them properly so that they can actually grow their business ventures. And so we're really hoping that we get a lot of applications from College of DuPage. We had some incredibly strong applicants last year. Had a really, really great showing. 2 of the businesses that we funded last year are actually doing more to continue to build on what they did. Vision Lens, which essentially has created film for lenses that gives you the ability to upgrade your prescription without having to go back and get another costly prescription. They've actually went on to raise about $50,000 in funding in the last year. Abilio Learning was one of the other winners that we had. They actually went on to essentially build out their 3D printing studio, and they're starting to develop additional products beyond their initial product, which is the Abilio timer, which is essentially a timer that helps people that have autism or other intellectual disabilities to be able to interact more comfortably within the classroom. So those are two really, really great companies that came out of the competition last year, but I know that we also hired one of the competitors for Innovation DuPage staff. So a lot of really good things came from that contest last year. We're really encouraging people to go out and fill out the application. Super, super simple. All we need is, I think it's what, a 3-minute video. Applications are due on October 9th. And you know, it's going to be a huge opportunity for businesses that are interested. Doesn't even have to be a business quite yet. Actually, it can also be an idea. But we're really, really excited to host this event. It's going to be fully virtual this year, kind of like the CODEC meeting. So you know, hopefully we have a good showing in terms of the applications.
Folks, you come to the CODEC meeting, not only do you find out about insightful musical careers, but you also find out ways you can make money. Sam, thank you so much for giving us an overview of the pitch contest. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's give them all a virtual hand clap again.